Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Boxing Shop. We are live again. Week number 6 of Killing Catch and Counter program. We have to open up the show with that, of course. But hey, shout out Jack and Nibs. They're back in full force, it seems like, and they're ready to come at us, man. So let's go. And hopefully you fans at home don't pull a Nibs when it comes to catch and counter. And if you guys know what that means, it means you're not going to watch them because that's what he likes to do. But Ray, Dakota, how y'all boys feeling tonight, man?
Feeling good, man. We were just saying before we went on air, like, what a weekend like filled with surprises and shit that you just didn't even see coming. And I'm not even talking about the main event, even all of the other fights, all of the upsets. Frank Sanchez getting upset, Joe Cordina getting upset, Navarrete getting upset. It was a crazy weekend, man.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, and before we get into all the good stuff, the fights and everything, I put it in the show title because I felt like it deserved at least a call out. But did you guys catch the Blair Cobbs and Adrien Broner press conference?
I did not. You'll have to be the lead on that one. But I'm sure
I saw the clips, bro, and that's all I needed to see. Like I saw it was funny to see Adrien Broner really not know what to do. Like, he was getting clowned on. Like when it's the bully or whatever who always cracking jokes and then that guy's getting clowned on.
Yeah.
Like, Blair Cobbs having the Adrien Broner puppet was genius. Like, he didn't have to say anything. Everything Broner said, there you go. He just was saying it with the puppet. And, bro, I know that was eating Broner up. Like, he started calling him a clown and was like, well, I know I'm a clown, but you're a real clown. It's like, bro, you gotta just. I'll say this though, I never thought Adrien Broner was that good of a trash talker. Like he gets everyone's kind of like, oh, Adrien Broner's a trash talker, whatever. I never thought it was that good. I never thought he was that funny. Like, he had the can man, which I think that was kind of. I mean that's what iconic or whatever. Mexican, Puerto Rican, anyone can't get it. But then Felix tells me, oh, that was a bit off of a different comedian. So yeah. I never thought Adrien Broner was like.
Mostly what he does is say outrageous shit that no one else would say out loud. But a lot of it in general is like corny, or it's just way over the top. He knows how to get attention, but I wouldn't describe him as like a smooth. He's not Paulie. He's not, he's not.
No, he's not like the quick off the top, the witty. He's not that at all. So when people say like, oh, Adrien Broner, and they mention him with trash talk, I'm like, I never really put him up there as like, oh, I got to tune in to see what he's going to say. So with that said, when he was saying whatever he was saying, for Blair Cobb to have the Broner puppet and just repeated everything he said, bro, I know that was eating him up. That was genius.
It was great. And you can hear the people in the crowd were eating it up too. They were laughing. I think it was at one point, like, it kind of got quiet, and then Adrien was like, he didn't know what to say. He's like, June 12th, and then Blair right away with the puppet, June 12th.
June 12th? Yeah.
Bro, it was great, and I'm loving it, and I hope this keeps going. I never thought, again, Adrien, I'm not going to say he's a great trash talker, but he is a trash talker. He makes an attempt at it, of course, but he's no Keith Thurman. He's not good on the mic like that. Paulie Malignaggi, he's not good like those guys are at talking, but he's going to run his mouth no matter what.
Yeah.
And for him,
he's a polarizing figure.
Yeah.
So I feel like it doesn't need to be the trash talk. Like, there's people that are going to be Adrien Broner fans, and there's people that are going to absolutely hate him.
Right.
So with that, like, when you're polarizing, it's going to bring eyes on you. Exactly. So I feel like Blair Cobb's perfect for that, because Blair Cobb can be, to me, Blair Cobb's more entertaining than Adrien Broner.
Right. And the stuff he says it doesn't come off as like ignorant and stupid. It's just, it comes off as very like WWE-ish. And, that's, where he kind of models a lot of his stuff off of, but it comes off as those kind of promos.
I mean, it also sometimes comes off as like intentionally exaggerated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know he's saying something that he's like, you're doing a bit, you're doing a shtick, but it's intentional. With
that comes across well. I don't think Broner, like when Broner was in the the ring with shoot, it was his last fight. I couldn't tell you who he fought, but he was in the ring with shoot, I can't even tell you who was in the ring. The commentator, I don't know, but they were like asked him about his next fight, and he was like, Roly, retardo.
Right. Yeah.
And like it didn't hit at all. And it was like everybody was like, I mean, it's just like awkward, you know, like he says stuff, but it's not the funny, like I said,
it's funny when you're like a man in your mid-30s and you're on somebody like a 7th grade insult, you know.
Right. It's exactly.
I felt bad. I don't know who's interviewing him. I'm gonna look it up because I know he was like a world champ. He's from Ohio.
What's your interest in that fight? Is there a level of interest in the actual fight itself?
For me, I'm interested in it because, and I really, I mean, we try to not pick sides here. Obviously, we pick winners for fights, but I'm gonna say I'm on Blair Cobbs' side mainly because of how Adrien Broner is, and this is the type of fight now. Like Maidana gave it to him, you know what I mean? Maidana did it, but Maidana is not gonna talk trash. Blair Cobbs is gonna talk trash and taunt him, and has enough in his tool belt to beat him. And that's what I want to see. So I'm interested. I don't know. I don't think Adrien has a whole lot left in his tank, but it's going to be enough to make it fun still. And he's going to get in there and he's not going to run. And I don't think he has the legs to either. But Blair is going to make it entertaining. So for that, like the entertainment aspect, I'm interested, man. I'm sold. I'm all in on this one for sure.
I don't know, man. Like if I'm not doing anything and it's on, I'll watch it. But I think this is a fight where both guys are kind of out of the top 10. Like, and I don't know what either brings to the table. Like, you know, it's not like someone brings explosive power. Like to me, it could be an ugly fight. I'm not really that drawn to it. Obviously, this talking and that, you know, maybe I'll watch it. But if I miss it, I'm not mad at it.
It just seems like it's been so many years since Adrian's had like a good performance, and he's been in the game on borrowed time, on kind of like a legacy from 10, 15 years ago. And I just wonder, like, you know, is Blair good enough to beat him bad enough that it kind of seals the deal on whatever half-hearted comeback he's attempting?
And that's big too. Is he good enough to beat him
bad enough
where we don't need to see him again?
Yeah.
And I don't know if he is. Like, I really think Blair will beat him just because he'll probably be more active. And, you know, Broner doesn't punch. And since Broner's been past 130, he doesn't sleep guys. And so, you know, I don't know if Blair Cobb's the guy to kind of show us that Adrien Broner's done, though, you know. I would like to see Adrien Broner against Roman Villa. You know, just a clean beat down, no questions asked. You can't say you won. Like, come on, like let's remember, Broner said he beat Pacquiao and was 100% about that. You know, unless he's beat convincingly or knocked out, I feel like that's what he's gonna say. And I just don't know if Blair can do that.
And this is an interesting comment right here too, because I've never seen a fight poster before where, you know, the entire card is advertised, and, you know, on the poster it says, and this is an official Don King poster. You can tell by how crappy it is, but it says, you know, Blair Cobbs versus Adrien Broner, and in parentheses it says if Adrien Broner shows up. And so it's already kind of painted out there.
Sounds like it's a part of the marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, will Young Thug show up to the festival finally? You know?
Exactly. And you know, the other thing though is Blair's dedicated, at least to the craft, and so much that, you know, he's not disrespecting his body the way Adrien is, and I think that alone is going to carry him to a win. Adrien, he's not.
I mean, like, you know, we talked to Blair. I don't even know. Time flies. I can't keep track of time, but I'm pretty sure we talked to Blair last year, maybe the year before that, and the Broner fight came up, and he was really excited for that.
Yeah.
You know, So I feel like for Blair, this is probably one that gets him really, in training mode and, a fight that he's been looking forward towards. I don't know if Blair is that guy for Broner. You know what I mean? Like, Broner's been in bigger fights. Broner's been at higher levels. So, like, you have a guy, like, this is probably going to be Blair Cobbs' biggest look. And then Broner's like, oh, I'm fighting Blair Cobbs. So how does that turn out?
I think for Broner, he might not have been up for it before, but now that he's seen the heat that Blair is bringing to the table with the trash talking, and actual good trash talking to the point where he's basically shutting him up, I think it's going to motivate him a little bit more. And with all jokes aside and everything, Adrien he does have elite skills. He's just never been dedicated, and that's been the issue the whole time.
See, in me, I don't know if he's ever had elite skills. I think he had elite power at those lower weight classes
and really good skills.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were elite, because it's a skill to be consistent, and he was never consistent when they did offensively.
Right. And so at those, I think 126, 130, he could be getting hit and he could be not doing what he needed to do, but once he hit you, it was over. And I think that's where he was really great. And as he's got up, and that's not the case, like, you can't throw 15 punches around and win. Like, I really think that the way that he was fighting was suited for those lower weight classes. And once he passed 35, like we saw it with Paulie. Paulie gave him a good fight. Ever since then, it's just been, he's been in tough fights. And I think that's because his power is what made him special at those lower weight classes. And I'm sure we'll get into it, but I kind of feel the same with Navarrete. Like, he keeps going up in weight, but it's like, hold on, bro. Like, you were so successful and so good because you could take the punches, you could fight sloppy, and once you hit guys, they were hurt. Like, now as we're seeing, 30, now you're at 35, it doesn't work that way. And, going back to Broner, I think, like, man, if he can't hurt you, like, you don't really have to worry about too much. Well, and it was, to go back, it was Ray Boom Boom Mancini interviewing him. So I just want to throw that out there.
That's right. What? Yeah, that was awkward. That had to have been awkward for Ray.
Well, Ray didn't know what he was talking about. Yeah. Broner didn't know. Like, it was all over the place.
Well, you mentioned it. Emmanuel Navarrete. Let's get right into that too.
Just real quick before we get off the Broner card, a guy from Paterson, New Jersey, who I've had on the Slip and Leap podcast, who trains with Shadeja Green. My guy Ian Green is going to be on that undercard fighting Roy Barringer. I think Ian's ranked number 7 by the WBA right now, and he's a really slick, talented guy, kind of the opposite of Broner in a sense, where he just really does his job. And definitely check him out, man, because he's a fighter's fighter and the skills are there.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I remember him. He was featured on the Fight Life, and I think it was a Shadeja episode. Yeah. But yeah, definitely. I'll be looking out for him too.
Great guy too. Really, really great. Like, inspirational story. Lost both of his parents within the last couple of years, and has managed to just really turn his career around, and it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, good for him. He's getting this opportunity on that card too.
And I guess I'll ask this because I don't know what are they fighting on? What platform? Is it just like a Don King pay-per-view, or is it? Do you guys know?
I'd love to know.
I will do some research. While I do that, I didn't get a chance. I was I was on duty. I didn't get a chance to watch the Navarrete fight, but Dakota.
No, man, we gotta go big, man.
Go ahead.
Let's start with the main fight of the weekend, right?
And before I'm gonna let you go first, right? But before we do anything, that was one of the most significant fights of the last 50 years, and kudos to both guys. They're both fucking legends.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, I'll just go first here with this one. As I mentioned, I was out and about. I was doing a lot of filming, getting content, driving around different gyms. Couple hours away from home. I was in Phoenix, and when it was time for Fury and Usyk, I literally pulled over. I was in downtown Phoenix, pulled over, parked in a spot, was feeding the meter, and I just sat there with my phone and I was watching the fight. Like it was important to me that I missed all the other fights of the weekend, but I was not going to miss that one, and I'm glad I did it. It did not disappoint. It was a hell of a fight. We talked about it last week, the magnitude of it all of the implications, and they lived up to it. There's no doubt about it in my mind that they lived up to it, and that was a great heavyweight fight for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the heavyweights are different. Like we could, you get the Canelos, you get the Crawfords, Ryan Garcias, all that, right? Maybe the more skilled, quicker, and all that, but the heavyweights are different. I think I shared that when Tyson Fury was saying, I don't think any man born could beat me. And he was saying he beat, and it's like, come on, that's crazy. But then you think about it and you're like, nah, hold up. This is an undefeated heavyweight champ. You put any man on this earth, and you just give him boxing gloves and get, the rules, obviously. He has a legit argument that he could beat everybody. That's the heavyweight champ. You're the baddest man on the planet. And then this, of course, was to be undisputed because two people had that claim. We have belts over here. We have belts over here, both undefeated. So, like Dakota said, I mean, however many years, this fight was that important and it was that big. And yeah, man, I think it lived up to it.
Yeah,
I mean, it was one of those where it was like, what more could you have asked for? You have two completely contrasting fighters. One guy is 6 inches taller, probably 35, 40 pounds heavier, been heavier his whole career. Super high skill level from both guys. They both made adjustments. Usyk starts well. Fury kind of takes over in the mid part. Then Usyk closes real strong and adjusts to the adjustment. And I think that was ultimately what separated the fight, was that Usyk was able to adjust to Fury's adjustment from rounds 3 through 7. Getting the knockdown, arguably, there was multiple knockdowns in there. I mean, Fury fell into the ropes about 2-3 times, and the ref stepped in on the third one. But the drama of that, and then Fury, making a rally in the 11th, it just kind of gave you everything that you want from two great heavyweights. And I think that it's tough to argue that Usyk is the top pound for pound guy right now, if not in the top 2 or 3.
Yeah, so man, there's so much. This fight kind of had it all, really, when you think about it. I saw, man, I don't even know who it was, but they said, if this fight happened without social media, like this would be an all-time great fight. Right? Like obviously it happens now, so there's gonna be people like, oh, that shouldn't have, whatever. Everybody's complains about something. Social media allows people to complain. But like if this fight took place in the 70s, we're like, oh shoot, it's one of the best fights ever. And I do think it was up there, that I think it was the 9th round. Is that when he got dropped?
Yeah.
Or dropped, right? Like even that, right? Like that's out of a movie where Tyson Fury could say, like, you never dropped me. What is it? The Raging Bull, where LaMotta tells him, like, yeah, you never dropped me. Well, like, Fury could say, you never dropped me. So, like, it just adds so much to it. But that round was interesting because, like Dakota said, there was technically, like, if you're going by the rules, a few knockdowns, right? If the ropes hold you up, that's a knockdown. And then I just think, how would that have played? Like, that first clean left by Usyk, if the ref counts that a knockdown, because the ropes definitely held him up, does that benefit Fury? Because after that punch, Fury took a beating, man. Like,
I think it benefits Fury in the moment, but I think after that, if Usyk had the same follow-up with a knockdown, the ref would have stepped in and stopped it.
Yeah, and like these are things like I don't know, because I'm like, well, if Fury takes that punch and then they count the they give him the count right there, well, now there's a lot more time for Usyk to close. but then maybe Fury's not as hurt because he's basically knocked down. He took probably 3 or 4 more punches that knock out the normal heavyweight.
Yeah.
Shoot, not the normal heavyweight, that knock out a top 5 heavyweight. So, like, you know, Fury took that whole beating and was still able, I thought, the next round to come back. It was a really good fight. I did think, you know, before that punch happened, I said to myself, like, man, Fury, like, quit playing around. Like, I get the entertainment factor, but I thought he was playing around. You know, the hands behind the back and the hands down. And, you know, in heavyweight boxing, it takes one punch. So I do think that was.
I just think he's done that his whole career. And for him, that's part of how he psychs himself up and gets into his rhythm. And not all fighters are like that. Clearly, Usyk is kind of a strictly business kind of guy once the bell rings. But I think for Fury, that's just part of how, you know, he psychs himself up and gets engaged in the fight. And he's going to be himself. Like he said, he thinks he can beat anybody. So he's going to be himself regardless of who's in the ring with him. He just happened to do that, I think, with the wrong guy who has generational heavyweight offense because he moves like a light heavyweight or a cruiserweight and punches like a heavyweight. He's not a heavyweight power puncher, but now we know he punches like a heavyweight. And I think it's one of those wins, bro. I feel like you have to put the man on the Mount Rushmore of heavyweights, man. I mean, it really is that significant. He's just beating these guys that are so much bigger, and he's doing it with so much skill. You know, it's legendary.
Yeah, I mean, and for him to have come up from cruiserweight to do that, it makes it even more special because that's unheard of, especially nowadays.
Yeah, we're talking about a guy that was fighting Artur Beterbiev in the amateurs.
Yeah,
he just dropped Tyson Fury last week, and I mean, it's incredible.
And I saw a stat which was
he didn't drop him, bro. He didn't drop him.
Well, he did, but you know,
I saw a stat that was crazy too. Is Usyk and Muhammad Ali are the same height, have the same birthday, and they have the same exact reach too. And when
they weigh about the same.
Yeah. When you look at Usyk next to Fury, you know, there's always how would Tyson Fury do against the great heavyweights? When you know that stat and you see that, it's crazy because he would have towered over Ali the same way he does over Usyk.
Well, and that's what made Ali special in his time too, was his footwork and his athleticism. Like he was shot. He's like out of a time machine. Like you watch guys from the 60s and 70s and they all look like they're from the 60s and 70s. And then you play him and all of a sudden the black and white footage, he's in color. You know what I mean? Like he was different. And Usyk has a lot of those qualities as well. I think it's in an even more like where he lacks in power and some of the other things, it's made up for in technique and IQ.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so like you got to give credit to Usyk, right? Like resume impeccable, like from the gold medal to undisputed as cruiser to now undisputed at heavyweight. And I would say I think he's the best pound for pound fighter. I don't think he won that fight though.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you something though. How many rounds did you give to Fury? Because I've watched it back again. I don't see more than 5 rounds you could give him.
See, and I'll have to watch it back. But like, I think Usyk won 3 rounds clearly. One being the knockdown round, so you know you got to give him the 2 points on that. But I think it kind of what I've been looking around in scorecards. I think it boiled down to the first 2 rounds. Like if you thought Usyk swept those first 2 rounds, you're gonna have Usyk up. If you give Tyson Fury one of those, then I think Fury wins. And I think that just shows like how good of a fight it was. And it's not taking anything from Usyk because if you say he's the number 1 pound for pound, shoot, he could have lost that fight, and I wouldn't be mad if you say he's the number 1 pound for pound. Because for him to do what he's done, like we said, at cruiserweight, and then what he's basically just put on more pounds. He's fought the same, and he can do everything, and he could keep these like giants of heavyweights, right? Like we always talk about, this generation of heavyweights. Why would they beat the older generation? Because they're so much bigger, right? Like But who has he beat? He's beat Anthony Joshua, who's like Hercules. He's beat Tyson Fury. And that's what I'm saying. Like, even if he didn't beat Tyson Fury, but it was still so close where he dropped him and all that, I have no problem saying Usyk's #1 pound for pound. I just thought Fury did enough. That one round was really bad for Fury. But, like I said, I think if you give him one of those first 2 rounds, I think after 3 or 4, he kind of swept it until 9. And I guess all that to say, all that doesn't matter. I can think what I think, you think what you think. But I think this leads us up to bring on a rematch. Right? Like it plays right into that.
I mean, they're already signed to do it anyways, and if they didn't, I think even the public would kind of insist on it happening, because it not only was it a competitive fight, it was an incredible. They're almost like these two guys are made for each other in a weird way, where it's like, Fury really has all the things that Usyk doesn't like. He's a big guy. He hits hard to the body. He's got that long jab. There was periods where Usyk was kind of reaching, and then Fury was countering him. And then I think Usyk's footwork and hand speed and just all those drop feints and level changes he does, I don't think Fury could get the kind of rhythm he wanted to get for stretches of the fight. They got to do it again.
Yeah, you got to. And I think it was maybe after the 4th or 5th, I thought there was a big shift. I was like, all right, Tyson has this. Like, Usyk just didn't look like, he almost like, man, how am I going to beat this guy, right? And until that left hand, and then that left hand kind of showed, to me, it energized Usyk. It kind of showed like, hey, I'm not.
I was kind of surprised that Fury didn't impose his physicality a little bit more, but I think he just felt like, I got to punch him where he can't answer. And the difference was just that Usyk made that adjustment and started pushing his way to the inside. I also think Fury's gas tank started to fail him a little bit. And I think that Usyk caught him slipping just for that second and was able to kind of take over.
Yeah, that's all. And I mean, props to Usyk. He showed he had the power to hurt Tyson Fury, which, I don't know if, I mean, maybe some expected, I guess. But, the way the fight played out and kind of what worked, what didn't work, I mean, that kind of what makes me anticipate that rematch so much more, right? Like, it kind of go back to the Deontay Wilder fight in Fury. And, and Fury was kind of boxing on the back foot, staying away. And then the second fight, what did he do? He just kind of bulldozed him, kind of just went at. And so I'm like, man, maybe Fury could have did that. Because of this fight started kind of, Fury was on the back foot a lot, throwing the long uppercuts, which really, bro, that's unfair for a 6'9" guy to be able to throw an uppercut way out there and, not really have to worry about getting hit with anything back. Like, man, that's what makes Tyson Fury. But, okay, he lost. But how does this fight could look so much different? How does this fight look if Fury does go at him? And that's why I'm just anticipating a rematch, anticipating like, the teams. What does the coaches come up with? Obviously, Usyk, he's too good to think, oh, he's just going to do the same thing. Like, no, this guy's one of the best, not of the generation ever. Like, his resume says ever. So what does he do different? Yeah, I gotta see it, man.
Yeah, for me too. It was interesting. Those first few rounds, as you mentioned, Ray, I think those are the swing rounds right there. Those are the ones that are the ones that are up for debate right now. Those first 3 rounds for sure, because I think it was around the 4th round when Fury was really busting up Usyk with those body shots, and it was really getting Usyk wore down, and you could see it. And for whatever reason, like, maybe I don't know what it was, that just something lit a fire under Usyk's ass. After like a few rounds later, he went in there and he started off I want to say maybe the 7th round just on fire, and he went at Fury as if nothing happened before that. There was no body damage or anything like that. And for him,
he was working Fury's body too.
Yeah, and for him to just switch gears like that after getting worked the way he was very impressive. You know, I'm with it. I'm with the rematch. I'm curious to see how it's going to go. I'm not going to say, well, Usyk is. It's. I think we're all in agreement that Usyk's a better boxer than Deontay Wilder for sure. And he's going to be able to adjust just the way Tyson Fury would adjust. But Ray brought up a good point too. Like Fury's made a big change, night and day change in the rematch against Wilder. You know, what is he going to bring against Usyk in the next fight? But again, at the same time, Usyk he's not a dumb fighter. He's where he is for a reason.
Yeah, for sure. And I just feel like, you know, with a fight like this, you know, both camps going back, like, what could we have done different? I think it's one of those fights where maybe we get a better second fight. You know, the whole thing was Fury came in light, whatever, and then we see him boxing. What if Fury puts on weight and it's just like, I'm just go after this guy?
Then that's a whole other challenge, though, because then he's going to see Usyk's moving around.
Yeah, you see Usyk boxing, boom, coming over with that left. But I mean, it just there's just so many things, and I guess it's because guys are so great. Each guy has different roads to victory that they've shown, like that they've done in the past, you know. And you know, when you get high IQ guys, high IQ teams, yeah, of course you want to see that again. I was kind of like, yo, let's let Fury win, and man, who cares about a rematch? I want to see Fury Joshua. No, I think this fight was so good, and these guys are so good. I want to see them go at it again. I would hope the fight is maybe in, you know, not in Saudi. I'm not a fan of the Saudi fights, man. I just feel like the energy is different there. I didn't think this one was as bad, but I just feel like that energy is different there. In this fight, man, it needs to be, I mean, shoot, have both of them go to Vegas. I mean, put it in a stadium if they want. Like, right, there's really nobody hometown on that. Or do it in England. I just, you know, it sucks because Saudi's giving us these great fights, but at the same time, I don't want to see these fights there, really. I feel like there's something that takes away from that.
Yeah, and the look and feel of it for sure. The UK crowd would be, you know, electric. The United States crowd would be electric. And not only that, like the amount of people, like, you know, I'm not traveling to Saudi for a fight unless it's somebody that I really, really, really need to see. And that's
still, hey, unless His Excellency's paying your flight, you ain't going, bro. And neither are a lot of those people that we've seen there.
Right. I mean, it's going to have to take a hell of a lot for me to go travel for a fight like that, where, you know, you throw a big fight at the Garden, you throw a big fight down in Florida, in LA, in Vegas, I'm there. You know, especially if it's somebody I'm dying to see, yeah, I'm there. Texas, you know, name it, I'm there.
I feel like that fight, even though they're foreigners, I feel like that could do a stadium in the States. Whether that's Allegiant in Vegas or you know, Texas Stadium in Dallas.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the energy would be so much different. And I don't want to be like, oh, of course, because he's American, but bro, you got to have some alcohol involved. Like in Saudi, it's dry and that, and you know.
I also just don't know if the people that are there outside of the people who, you know, the politicians are paying to be there, I don't know how much attachment they have to any of these fighters. Right. I don't know that it really the people on location, if it really matters in the same way to them that a British guy and a Ukrainian guy are fighting for the undisputed title.
And you know, I feel like, I mean, they try, like their production's up there, right? Like Michael Buffer's there. Dakota, what's I don't know if it's JID or is it Jid? What's his name?
I think it's just Jid, bro. But he was great. I've been a fan of his.
Okay, yeah, like you're a fan of his, but I just feel in that situation, like it looks great over the ring. You know, I didn't have any problem with any of it, but to me, it just seemed dead. You know, And I think that's just because
Right. He's performing for us behind the screen and not the people in front of him.
Yeah, but the crowd, it's just not there. I feel like those Saudi fights, there's just something lacking, and that does transcend into the TV people, where I said, oh man, I hope he doesn't perform another song. And really, like Dakota, a fan, is like, no, he's killing it. But I just want to see the crowd. I want to see everybody going crazy. I want to see him sing "Sweet Caroline," all of that.
I enjoyed that part. I guess, especially considering I felt like, for me at least, it filled in like what was missing with everything you're talking about with the crowd. That whole thing was missing. So I was like, all right, if we get a little performance out of it, that's actually kind of nice, because it does feel like we're at a dinner party or something, and there's supposed to be thousands of people there.
And I just think if they rematch, obviously if it's in Saudi, I'm gonna watch it. But I just hope that they would be like, yo, let's put this somewhere else. I think boxing fans deserve that. His Excellency, like, bro, you got the fight you wanted. You got a great all-time fight right in your hometown, and you're front row. You could be front row here too.
By the way, the Saudis are not a part of our DAZN plan either. Like, every event they put on is $70, $80, $90. And so they're
really?
Yeah, they're basically just like an add-on to DAZN. And I can't remember not one of their cards that wasn't a pay-per-view for something I'm already paying $25 a month for.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I think there's stadiums in with the heavyweights. For me, it always takes me back to Ali and Frazier at the Garden, right? This fight is bigger than the Garden, so give us Barclays, if not one of the football stadiums around there, or even the way they did that Cotto fight. Give us Dodger Stadium, give us a stadium somewhere.
Oh, they did. Yeah, they did Yankee Stadium, right?
Or Yankee Stadium. Yankee. I don't know why I said Dodger. Yeah, Yankee Stadium. Yeah, that was cool. That was a cool venue there too. The football jersey out there, or football stadium in New Jersey. It's right there. It's close enough.
Yeah, was it MetLife? Is that what it is?
MetLife Stadium. They would fill that as well too.
Plus, I live about 10 minutes away, so that'd be cool.
Hey, see, perfect. And I just feel like this is the mecca of boxing championships. So put it in an arena that's gonna give it that same vibe.
I would like to ask, I guess very few people have headlined those Saudi cards, but do they feel that difference? Maybe they're so locked in that it's, it doesn't matter where they're at.
They definitely do, bro.
But I would think so. But I would like to, get their thoughts on that.
It's like COVID, bro. It's like, when they got up and there was nobody making any noise, and they're like, oh, it's like a sparring session. I think that's kind of the experience.
Man, and I mean, WWE does a lot of events in Saudi, and I can tell you that's one of their shows that is not like the most funnest, you can say too, because the crowd interaction is not there the way it is for other.
It's different. I mean, I think I noticed that their Saudi cards. I don't know which one it was, but I noticed all the women had the long sleeves, the full pants. It's just different, and I'm not saying it's bad or whatever, but sometimes I like the drunk boxing fans. They start cheering for one guy, and then the other guy takes over, and then they start cheering for this guy. And the Vegas cards where where people have money on the underdog, and you can hear them rooting. I mean, imagine what that would be like when Usyk almost was going to knock out Fury.
Oh man,
and I'm sure it was. I don't remember the fans from this past weekend, but I would just know if that happened in Vegas and people have money on, and everybody's like, it's just gonna be different. And I would hope a rematch happens somewhere different.
And the UK too, like, bro, those fans out there are just nuts. They're gonna be in there. They're gonna be singing. They're going to be doing a bunch of raucous crap throughout the night, and during that main event, they're going to be loud. They're going to be live. So I mean, I'm with you. I would say, either the UK or somewhere out in one of these football stadiums out here for sure. It has to go down because that definitely it takes away from the appeal of a big event. You want that crowd interaction, and you want the big pops when they walk to the ring, and the announcements and everything like that. And you don't really get that out there. And then not only that, the look of it. There's stadiums in Saudi. Why didn't they use one of those? The arena that they chose just didn't feel like it fit the event either. The look of it just didn't fit the event. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's my only complaint about it, right? Like, we're always, I guess, as a boxing fan, I'm always complaining. But it's like, hey, I realize you're giving us these fights, but let's have them here instead. And I guess hopefully the Saudi card that is scheduled in America, that is the Crawford fight, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Crawford. That's Ryo, Pitbull, all those guys. Like, I just hope that's really successful, so they can say, okay, let's do more cards there. Because yeah, I do think the atmosphere and where it takes place plays a big part in it. And
I would like to have like a little more clarification on what their role is. Like, are they just the money? Because the promoter generally is who provides that. I just think that they have like an odd kind of gray area role in the sport. They do the show out there, but they don't have their own doctors and judges and officials. So it's, to me, and what other athletic commission, like the head of the athletic commission comes out and everyone cheers and is greeting, like the head of the New York State Athletic Commission doesn't get to pick a favorite. It's just it's an odd way of doing things.
I mean, very right. And
conflict of interest.
I mean, true, but if anything, I guess I would think the Excellency was very close with Fury, so it didn't go his way. So we could say like, oh, but yeah, what is the role? Because I find it, I think when the card was announced for the Crawford fight, I was questioning like, hold on, how are all these guys on this card? Like, is this a PBC card or, there's Matchroom guys on it? I don't know. It's just a money thing. Like, he's got that much money. We're like, hey, you guys make that happen. No questions asked. I don't know. I don't know if I want a question, really. Like, hey, just keep giving me these. But, I mean, it's definitely out there, Dakota. Like, I don't understand it, but it's happening.
And real quick, I know we were talking about him earlier, but just got a message now that said next week Blair Cobbs is going to be on the show. So, hey, if you guys were tuning in the beginning, you're going to want to tune in next week because Blair Cobbs is actually going to be in the boxing shop with us now. And if you thought the press conference this week was entertaining, I'm sure he's going to be just as entertaining on the shop next week.
Can we bring the AB puppet?
I'm gonna
as a guest.
I'm gonna
bring a Blair Cobbs puppet. He might actually think that's funny.
He would. But yeah, hey, there you go. Some more
great fight. Hey, great fight. We have an undisputed champion. As a heavyweight, hadn't been done since Lennox Lewis.
Yep. First undisputed heavyweight champion crowned in the 21st century.
Crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's wild. What else did we miss? I mean, again, I missed a lot of the fights, so take us through.
We missed it. I just want to say I thought Fury won that fight, and I can't wait. I hope there's a rematch. But yeah, hell of a fight for sure.
I think that it was a long-ass undercard. I think that there was a couple of things worth highlighting. First of all, the fact that Frank Sanchez got beat up and stopped by my guy, Agit Kabayel of Turkey. I've been saying that this guy's talented for a hot minute, and then he went out and he stopped Makhmudov in his last fight. Everybody was surprised. I had seen him once or twice, and I wasn't surprised by it. And part of why I wasn't surprised by it was he's got that thing that Usyk has, not that he's as skilled, but his offense, he's throwing combinations and throwing body shots and moving at a pace that a lot of these other heavyweights are just not used to. And he came out and he put that pace on Frank, and Frank looked a little off, man. His mobility wasn't right. He had a knee brace on. He was a little more passive than we've seen him. And Caballero took advantage and honestly just really dog walked him and stopped him. And it was an incredible performance. I hope that what comes next for him is that Caballero gets to fight Joe Parker. They were talking about that on the telecast, but I think that's an incredible matchup.
Yeah, man. I like, you know, when he beat what's the guy's name he beat last time? Yeah, the big scary knocking everybody out, and he kind of did his thing. I think this was it's only it was what who says it? Might be Jay-Z. Like, it's only so long fake thugs can pretend. Like, I felt like it was always so long. Like, every time I see Frank, it's like he just never really shows me that he's gonna be that guy, or I would pick him as the best heavyweight. And he has kind of always been skating through. He gets by, and you know, for me, as like a Canelo fan, I'm like, oh, okay, he's with them. But I just still never really felt, you know, he was going to be that guy. And hey, his time was up. And
I'll be honest too. The thing that I was always impressed about with Frank was his foot movement for a guy that size and his hand speed for a guy that size, and he didn't show any of that in this fight.
Yeah, and I mean, so, you know, is it because he's 48 years old? I don't know. What is he, Felix? You want to fact check me on that?
I'm not gonna lie, bro.
He's 31.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'm 31. Do you think me and Frank Sanchez look like we're the same age, bro?
Yeah.
Uncle Frank.
Frank is that
exactly.
baseball 31, that little league baseball 31.
No, that Cuban 31. That's their whole, yeah. Or the Dominican 31. Like,
he was looking old up in that ring, bro. And I won't say he's not actually 31 years old, but he was not fighting like no 31-year-old man. So something happened, or the injury was more serious than he was willing to let on. And he was just in with the wrong guy to not be switched on. Caballero just mugged him.
Yeah, and then like, he kind of got done dirty. But you know, this does open up some good fights, right? And I think we're heavyweights where we have names. Like, hey, let's get some of these names out of here, right? Like, you know, and you know, Frank he's been impressive at times, but it's always like he's not impressive until he is.
Yeah.
And you know, I know Felix loves the NABO, NBA.
I'll say this too. I was waiting to drop that line. Frank Sanchez definitely at least made history. He's the longest running NABO champion of any weight division with the most defenses of that title, which also speaks to your point. Like, he was kind of like, let's, you know, what's next? Because I mean, that's not a title that you hold that record for, that you want to hold that record for. You want to do something, and his time came and passed.
It also kind of reminded me of the Barbosa fight on the undercard of Garcia and Haney, where it's like a guy is performing well, he's doing the right things, and he's just waiting. He just has to keep waiting and waiting. The big fight is the next fight. Oh, wait, it's not, but it's the next fight. Oh, wait, it's not, but it's the next fight. I think you do that to a fighter enough times and they get a little stale.
That's true. Yeah.
They start running out of reason to get motivated.
I mean, on them, and then I also feel it's like good matchmaking. Like, all right, let's maneuver here, maneuver here, maneuver here. Because, you know, at some point, let's say his knee really was hurt. I'm not saying it wasn't, but we don't know the extent of that injury. But like, as a match
for, you know, but I don't know. He just wasn't moving right.
Right, like as a matchmaker or trainer, like, you know what your guy has. So are you maneuvering him, you know, to not get beat? But the inevitable, I felt like, finally caught up. Like, I never had Frank over any of the top guys. Like, you know, whether that's Deontay, Tyson, Usyk, Joshua, I felt like maybe he could show something, but I just think the inevitable happened. He was gonna get beat, and it happened. He got beat bad, and because there are so many names in this division, and because he's a heavyweight and one punch can change anything, a clean punch, I think he'll get other opportunities. But yeah, I don't think he's ever that.
It's a devastating type of loss, though. And a good segue into another devastating type of loss. Joe Cordina got pretty much smoked by a guy named Anthony Sacacci, who had 7 knockouts going in and completely demolished Cordina. It was like pretty shocking. And we've seen Cordina a bunch of times. Pretty skilled guy, doesn't get hit, but offensively always had a certain amount of firepower. And that was like kind of the beauty of this whole night of boxing was the unpredictability of it. Like, I've been a Frank guy for a while, but I love when we get surprises like that. And this was another one where Cordina just like, I didn't know who the guy was he was getting in with, but the guy came in motivated, ready to go, and got a knockout in the most important fight of his life.
Yeah, that was a. I mean, no disputing that. What'd you think though? Because that fight was kind of similar to 9th round Fury Usyk. I guess going back to that, do you think they should have called the Fury Usyk fight as a 9th round TKO?
Honestly, I would have said no. I would have called the knockdown earlier, and I don't know how that would have impacted the fight going forward, but particularly with Fury, Fury's history of being a durable guy and the magnitude of the fight, I couldn't have rationalized stopping it right there. But they should have called a knockdown earlier.
So, I mean, I don't mean to get away from the Cordina fight, but as a referee, do you think he should know the history of each guy and then also kind of adjust to making his calls based on that? Right? Because we've seen Fury come back from the dead against Deontay. So, like, how could I wave off? And that was my whole thinking. Like, you can't wave off this fight because he's been completely laid out and got up.
Yeah.
But, like, really, like, should that matter or what?
I think it should to some extent. Like, just as this is like an obvious example, but like if a guy's been knocked out 3-4 times, the ref should know that because that fighter's punch meter is probably full. So if you see their eyes roll back, call it. But I think you got to go case by case too. But I think just know it's impossible not to know what Fury brings to the table.
Right.
It's like, if you're a referee, are you going to stop an Arturo Gatti fight? It's basically that. You know what I mean? Like, it's a tough thing.
You're giving some guys longer leashes than others. But is that right, though?
I think it is, but it isn't. It isn't because the number one thing is their safety, their health. That's first and foremost, right? But at the end of the day, when you have, like, let's just use Gotti as an example. We know what he's made of, and you know what he's going to do in the ring. If you're reffing his fight, and you see him get dropped, you see him getting rocked, but you've seen him come back from that multiple times. Wouldn't you, as a referee, make the decision to be like, well, this isn't Joe Smith, who can I've never seen him. I don't know his history. I don't know what he's about. I know this guy's
the guy that beat Behind.
Yeah.
No, Joe Smith is such a generic name. I just said that.
I got you. I know what you mean.
But you know what I mean? Like with Tyson Fury is the same thing. We've seen him get hit with an absolute sledgehammer by Wilder and get up. So Usyk's no Wilder.
But the flip side of that too is Gotti Ward 1 definitely should have been stopped in the 9th round. It wasn't, and we got like one of the greatest fights of all time. Yeah, but that fight should have gotten stopped right there, So it's a fine line.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I mean, it changes history, right? What if a smoker calls off Wilder Fury? I don't think anyone can argue with that. It's like, okay, I guess that's just what makes you got to really appreciate these refs, because even this fight, the Fury Usyk, I would have been, I think, okay with Usyk winning a TKO 9 over Fury more so than I was Usyk winning a decision over Fury. Like I thought there were points in that ninth round where like, man, he's just getting hit by a heavyweight. You gotta stop it. And I probably would have been like, dang, man, he didn't put his hands up or he kept getting hit. And I wouldn't have been mad at that, but he let it go. You know, I don't know. I guess that's where it becomes like, man, like you really gotta appreciate these refs. Some of them, like some of them deserve their flowers.
Yeah, some of them definitely make the right call. They're under a lot of pressure because that is a lot of pressure. And
it's so. I mean, come on. This just came to my mind right now. But Rolly versus his grandpa. What was his name? He's a champ now.
Barroso.
Baraka.
Like, come on, like. Fury was getting beat up a lot worse than that. And, it's just, I don't know. The referees hold so much power in their hands, especially on situations like that where it really changes the history. And you just hope, that they got the right decision or that they get the right decision more so than they don't. Because, Felix, Zab Judah...
Jane 80?
No, yeah. Zab Judah, Costazu.
Yeah.
Jane 80. Like, bro, he stopped that fight. I don't think Zab was that hurt.
Nah.
If he doesn't wave that off, if he had, like, what happens? We don't know.
Because Zab was touching up Costazu.
Bro, yeah.
He was, it was just that one knockdown, and it was at the end of the round. He was going to recover. That one still makes me mad. But yeah, and Jay Nady, he was one that seemed to crack under pressure sometimes.
But I mean, you see what I mean? We're like, man, these refs, they really have history in their hands. You know?
Yeah.
Because who knows what happens to Zab Judah? Like, Zab Judah was that guy. This was just kind of another fight. Obviously, it was a big fight. And he went down so quick, or he got up so quick, that they waved it off. But I've always been like, yo, if you give Zab his full count and let him go, he maybe wins that fight, and it changes the course of history in boxing.
Right. You never know. Again.
Bean, hey, throw that comment out on Bean because. Yeah, because I've always said this. You guys want to claim that as the greatest fight ever?
It was.
Yo.
It was. There was no doubt about it.
To allow that cheating by Diego, rest R.I.P.
It did take a point. Ref did take a point
taken away.
Oh, okay. That's what we're doing? We go ahead.
Oh, okay. So you're the referee in Corrales Castillo, and he spits out the mouthpiece for the first time. What are you going to do?
So, he spit it out twice, right?
Yeah, but he hadn't done it.
Got a point taken.
He hadn't done it.
First time, hard warning. You're already knocked down, hard warning. Second time, you don't want to fight. Jose Luis Castillo is the winner of this.
Second time, wow. Quick draw over here.
Yeah. You want to
come on. Come on. When you know what you... Diego knew what he was doing. He didn't want to fight at that moment. Spit the mouthpiece.
Okay, so let's take it back.
It's no different than turning your back, right? You don't want to fight.
When Zab Judah was piecing up Miguel Cotto, and Miguel Cotto deliberately hit him below the belt.
Yeah.
What do you say about stuff like that? What is your ruling there? Because he was on his way to probably stopping Cotto as well.
Yo, Zab's career could have went in a totally different direction, man. A couple of these fights. So what did happen? Let me try to remember. They take a point, or they just gave him 5 minutes?
He got the 5 minutes because those are some vicious low blows too that Cotto hit him with, and Zab was down for a minute. A few minutes, and it gave Cotto the chance to clear his head. Big time.
I guess I don't know if I'd be that quick to pull the DQ. I think that's the only other, what could you have done? But I have heard Zab say, right, there's always a silver lining or whatever. Zab said, and I guess it's maybe Zab's way of dealing with it. Zab said he had all daughters. He always wanted a son. He had all daughters up until the Cotto fight. And Cotto gave him those low blows. And then he said he had nothing but sons after. So I think he was like, hey, that's his silver lining. But yeah, I don't know. What do you do? It's tough. I'm not a referee, but what do? You DQ him or what?
When it's deliberate like that, see, that's the thing. So Floyd definitely should have gotten disqualified when Roger Mayweather jumped in the ring. That is a fault like that. For that, there's no warning. You get in the ring, you're disqualified. Simple as that. And when Floyd's uncle did that in their fight, he should have definitely gotten DQ'd. But I'm not disqualifying Diego Corrales for spitting out his mouthpiece. I'm going to take a point. And I don't know if I would disqualify Cotto for that deliberate low blow. I would probably take a point as well too. It's a gray area, and I guess it depends on the moment and the magnitude of the fight too. Look at Riddick Bowe and Andrew Galata. Look at how many times that went on and what it led to as well.
Yeah, and I also, and that's why I don't know. Maybe we should be asking referees, right? Because the Floyd Zab fight, I feel like that's almost a TV call, right? Like you realize all the viewers or whatever, you can't just end the fight.
Yeah.
Right. Like when both guys want to fight still, and yeah, technical black and white. If we're looking at the rule book, he hops up, fight's over. But people paid lots of money. Do we let that fight go on or not? We even using those same rules, we could go back to Chavez, Meldrick Taylor.
Oh God, bro, that one should have been stopped. Should not have been stopped.
No, you got it right the first time.
You got it right the first time. Because, bro, there was a second left in the round. Chavez couldn't even have ran.
What was it? His cornerman was on the ring.
I don't remember that. They weren't in the ring.
They were. You can't hop up on the. You can't hop up on the ring.
Yeah, true. But that's
either you want me to wave it off, or we got the DQ because your corner's basically stopping it. So it's crazy. No, I guess my point is it's crazy that all these fights, all these legendary whatever, and referees have had a big part in a lot of these big fights.
That Chavez and Taylor should not have been stopped.
No, it's 100% should have.
It should, and I want to look up the right now. I'm gonna look up the scorecards because I'm curious. I'm pretty sure the official judges, had it correct because
and get his trainer on the ring too.
I don't remember his trainer being on the ring. I'm gonna look that up.
Man, what's his trainer? Legendary trainer. I can't think of it right now.
Meldrick Taylor's. Wasn't it Duva?
Lou Duva?
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna look and I'm gonna try to find the scorecard because that one had it not been stopped, I think Taylor was going to win.
Taylor would have won. No, Taylor would have won.
Yeah. But I thought it was a necessary stoppage, and even if we want to go by people on the ring, then fight's over. Lou Duva was on the ring for some reason trying to get the attention. But I don't know. There's been a lot of these fights where if the ref doesn't do this or that, we have a completely different outcome.
Well, you ready for a sick segue? I wish the ref had done a little more to get control of the Navarrete and Baranchik fight because there was a fuck ton of holding and it was a really tough style matchup to watch. Big ups to Baranchik, but it felt like all of the writing on the wall that's been there about Navarrete, it all kind of came to be like just like some real basic footwork and fighting a guy his size, and he looked real normal. So I'm not sure what's next for him, but he's gonna have to have some kind of career renaissance, or it's probably a wrap for him at the top.
Yeah, I guess I thought it was getting bad for him, even if he were to get through that fight because of the players at 135. Do you think he could get back down to 130, or you think this is where he's at and it's just going to be a, hey, whatever happens, happens?
I think that his body is capable of getting down to 130, but I think that unless he has some kind of change in his outlook and his discipline, he's not going to be able to get down to 130 doing the same things he's been doing. I mean, I know they said on the telecast he had wrist surgery. He got up to about 170 pounds. Listen, I get it. But, Tim Bradley then says he's eating M&Ms and shit at the press interviews, and he's snacking all the time. And, like, he just doesn't come off as, like, a disciplined athlete. And so at this point, it's like I'm not going to take him seriously as an athlete, because at 135, he's not going to be able to get away with this shit. It's just,
So
Lomachenko, Shakur, Tank, all these guys are going to eat him up.
Murataya, even, who didn't have a great performance last time.
Murataya would eat him up.
Keyshawn, right? So do you think the time is now for Valdez to avenge that loss?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if they can get it done at a weight that makes sense for Oscar, I honestly, the fight that I would like to see for Oscar is him get the winner of Conceição and Shock Foster, which I think will be Shock. And I think that Oscar and Shock is an awesome fight for a belt,
Yeah.
That's a decent fight.
And honestly,
I guess that gives some options to Oscar.
Navarrete was so bad in this fight. I'm just not interested in seeing him again, unless he's like, I got the strength and conditioning down, I got the diet down, we dialed this in, we changed this up. And he was saying that a little bit after the fight, but I didn't feel like the fact that he lost like really upset him. Like he was like, oh yeah, we'll do what we can, we'll get better, da da da. But it didn't look in his face, like when Lomachenko, when they gave the decision to Haney, he cried in the locker room. He's a very stoic kind of guy. Like I didn't see like Navarrete really cared that much,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I was thinking, like, I don't know what his plans are, but I feel like whatever he wants to do, I feel like he has that Valdez fight in his back pocket, right? Like, even if he's doesn't compete again for, at that top level, which it sounds like he's just not going to be there. I feel like him and Valdez have that one big fight that they could put on whenever they want, and make good money from it. Throw that in Arizona. I think that's going to do well. So I would like to see that, but like you said,
I'd like to see it too. I just think the issue is that I don't think Navarrete will get down to 130 again. If he moves up, because for him right now, what his issue is not the weight, like like how for Virgil, he's getting hospitalized, making 147. This guy's not getting hospitalized, bro. He's just getting up to 170, 180 pounds in between fights, and it's getting harder to cut the same amount of weight. He's not living that same life the way the other champions and, his contemporary. He's been getting by on talent, and he's amazing. He's awesome, but just at a certain weight, it's run out.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I said earlier, that's kind of like the same thing with Broner. I felt like
totally similar, very similar. He's just a more likable person, but it's very similar.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, if Oscar says like, "Hey, come back down to 130," I mean that gives Oscar a lot of advantage. Like you just made 135, and then we don't see guys too often make a weight and then go back down to the weight class. So that might be the advantage that Oscar needs, to avenge that loss. But I'd be all for it,
I think he's got the momentum now too, and I think he's got his confidence back.
You'd absolutely have to favor Oscar in that rematch. Just considering that the first fight was a pretty competitive fight, how Oscar's looked since then, how Navarrete's looked since then, you definitely have to lean Oscar. I think the unsung story here is Baranchyk, while it was an ugly fight, he kind of just figured out a way to make it work for him, which is a skill, and just being resourceful enough to figure out how to edge around here and there. And he was calling out, Keyshawn Davis and shit after the fight. And I think he deserves it, man. He just beat like a fringe pound for pound guy. He should get a big fight out of it.
So what do you think they do? Do they let Baranchyk kind of enjoy this title, or hey, you got to fight?
I think he's a serious competitor. He was on that same team as Usyk and Lomachenko and Vosdik, and he's not as good as those guys, but he was on the same team as them, so he's got that same mentality. And I think he wants to fight guys like Keyshawn Davis and Shakur Stevenson. That's who he's calling out, and I think he thinks he can beat him. I don't think he can, but I think he deserves the chance to.
Yeah. And one of the best videos this weekend was Usyk watching that fight, watching the call, the decision of that fight,
Yeah, it's a special moment.
You got to watch it. Well, he gave a little dance that, I don't know, only Usyk could do, I guess. So I thought that was one of the best videos of the weekend.
It was a special moment for them guys, It was a special moment for like their country's history, which has an extensive history in boxing. They're obviously invaded by Russia at the moment, so the stakes of just their day-to-day life is real serious right now, and I think it was a huge moment for them.
So are judges aware of that, and that's why they're giving rounds to some of these Ukrainian fighters?
I don't
think
know. I don't think so either. I haven't watched the Navarrete fight yet, but it doesn't sound like he won. It doesn't sound.
Well, no, he definitely didn't win. Navarrete there was no ripoff here.
And then let's not forget that Lomachenko picked up a dub last week. So Ukraine is definitely, taking home dubs right now.
And Vosdik is about to fight David Benavidez. Obviously, you have to favor Benavidez, but that crop of guys is obviously super skilled and having a lot of success right now.
I think that's a real fight.
I do too. People are sleeping on it, and it's not a main event. But a couple of years ago, Vosdik was one of the top 3 light heavyweights out, and that's a good fight, bro.
And he lost to Beterbiev. Like, I don't think David Benavidez brings what Beterbiev does. Like, I don't think he brings that one punch, knock you out power. So yeah, obviously it's different. He'd retired. He'd been out for a bit, but I don't think David Benavidez beats him the way that Beterbiev beats him. So, like, what happens? And I think it's a good fight. I think it's a decent fight for sure.
I'm curious to see, because I don't, a lot of times we can come up with ideas on what we think would beat a fighter. I can't really come up with I guess maybe Caleb Plant times 10 could beat David Benavidez, but I can't really think of anything. I mean, David Morrell, what he brings to the table. But even then, I'm just picking David Morrell off of what I see. I don't know how he would do it, but like David Benavidez he's got a tough style to beat. I mean, the speed, lankiness, it's a tough style to beat, and I don't know how I would even come up with like a strategy, even in a fantasy scenario, how I would do that.
I think Benavidez gets beat by being hurt. I do think he can be hurt. That's what I say. Like, when I picture him against Canelo, right? Like, how's Canelo? Is Canelo gonna box around? No, I think David Benavidez is too active and hands are too quick. I think his chin will be how he gets beat. And I do think that Linnell can offer that, if he hits him flush or clean or whatever. But yeah, like you said, there's some guys that like, bro, how do you beat this guy?
He's another one with great feet too, and I don't know that we've seen David in with a guy that big that's been in with like real, this is a guy's been in with Beterbiev, Adonis Stevenson. He's been in with like real all-time punchers. And
Right.
even Beterbiev, Teddy Atlas stopped that fight. Beterbiev didn't knock him out cold. So it was just, it was a Beterbiev wore him down. But I think that's really it's a much more interesting fight than it's getting credit for.
For sure. Because like Felix, you say that you don't know how he loses. Well, like, how does Benavidez win, right? To me, Benavidez wins, his last 2 fights, he's bigger than them. He has quicker hands, and he just eventually breaks them down.
Yeah.
I don't know if he does that against a bigger guy that's a bigger puncher. So
that's true.
That's why it's an interesting fight to me.
I also don't think he's going to step right to David the way Boo Boo did. I think he's going to be a little bit more strategic. I'm interested to just see how Benavidez responds to that kind of fight. I also think he can stick with it a little better than Caleb Plant. So it's just you can't rely on him fading in the same way.
And Plant did good, man. Like he provided an entertaining fight. Like he went at it. Like obviously, I think over the rounds, just the size and activity was just too much. Which credit to David, but like Plant had success.
Yeah, he was doing good. I was half asleep during that fight. I remember that, but I remember it was rough, bro.
I forgot that you were fucking falling asleep there in that fight. I was like,
that was a crazy weekend.
Yeah, I remember you were like, "Yo, I'm gonna go 2-3 rows back and put my sunglasses on and knock out."
that was, and then I just stood for like the second half of the fight to prevent myself from dozing off because I knew sitting down was not it for me anymore.
That's so funny.
But yeah, Caleb Plant was having success, man. Definitely.
So, yeah. I mean, shoot, when is that fight? What is that? June what?
Coming up.
15th. June 15th.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah, I think that's a slept-on fight. It's actually like a really good card. I know Tank's main event. I think Tank's going to win that very easy. I think he's going to sleep Frank Martin as soon as he hits him. But, to see 2 top-level guys on the same card, it's kind of what you want to see. And this summer, man, it's getting hot, bro. It's providing a lot of good fights. You can't really be mad at it.
You know what fight I'm really excited about is
Mike Tyson, Jake Paul.
Besides that one.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
Schofield and Silv. Bro, that one is
that's a good matchup.
That is such a good one, man, because they're young, up and coming prospects. Forget this whole let it simmer, let it build in a few years when you guys have belts. Let's do it. No, they're doing it now. And
I guess each of y'all, how do y'all think that fight gets made? Like somebody, the promoter is obviously thinking like my guy's a lot better than that guy, right? Like that's crazy for these 2 guys to be fighting this early in their career. To me,
I mean, we're seeing it more often with these young guys, bro. They're down to do it, and I like that. I like that Michelle Rivera and Frank Martin took the risk. There's a lot. I think another Joe Sean James and Javier Martinez. I just think there's more unbeaten guys, willing to take this risk on the come up. I think it's ultimately going to be better for the sport.
Yeah, and for sure, I think it is. But I'm just thinking like I
bet they also both feel like they're ready for a title shot. I'm not saying even their teams. I'm saying them personally. So when you put that fight to them, it's like, hell yeah, if it's me or him.
100%. I think the fighters, hey, this would have happened 3 fights ago. If it was up to them. But I'm just thinking like, as I guess Golden Boy with Kid Austin. It's like what. And this is another one. Like, how does that work out? Where does Golden Boy fit into this? Because this is an MVP Jake Paul card.
There's some weird business relationships going on some of these cards. Like I bought.
Yeah,
I got my pay-per-view on ESPN this weekend, and it was a DAZN stream with a Riyadh season tag on top, and it was like, I don't know who owns this fight.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what I'm thinking. Like, this is an MVP card, and then like Golden Boy's throwing in arguably their best prospect, right? Like, I mean, you could say Verge Ortiz, but like their best young prospect.
Yep.
In a fight that who knows what's gonna happen. Maybe that might be MVP side, or like, hey, our fighters are gonna fight. But yeah, it's probably the second fight of the pay-per-view card, the way we're looking at it, and I think that's a really great fight.
Yeah, that again, what you said too, just this summer alone, man, it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be fun, and I feel like there's a lot of titles that are shifting around. I'm looking forward to what's coming.
Well, you threw it out there like this is even more. I know we're getting the 5v5 match room, and
I wanted to talk about what you're about to talk about.
No, yeah, go ahead. I only know because of you, because they threw out 5v5 Americans versus Euros.
Bro, let's do it. Let's do it. Like US versus UK. I'm excited. I don't know if she's watching, but I'm sorry, Rachel, but Team USA is going to take that dub easily.
I mean, we got to see what weight classes they're doing this at. But I mean, that's a good thing for the sport, man, because it really makes it interesting. And I feel like this is almost new to the sport, right? Like,
it's also promoters working together and putting and not just keeping it in house. I think it's a cool model where we don't have to pretend like we're not doing business together. It's like, I got my guys, you got your guys. It's a little bit more of a direct way. 100%. Usyk and Fury, where I buy it on ESPN, but it's a DAZN broadcast with a Riyadh season tag. Why not just say, oh, this is Golden Boy versus PBC? What's wrong with that?
It's exciting because boxing is such a unique sport because of how it is. Like, there's not two football leagues. I mean, I guess there is now. There's the Rocks Football League, whatever it's called. But it's like mixing those. I mean, it's that, and that's really what boxing is. It's like now you're having, and Eddie Hearn. I mean, I feel like he's probably the front runner for making all this happen because he's the center of it all. Really, for the most part.
But I mean, is he, or is it the money?
It's obviously
because like these 5 Americans. Where are they going to come from? Are they all from PBC? Are they all from Top Rank? Like,
yeah.
How are we doing it? And that's really what makes it interesting. Or if this is like His Excellency, where like, hey, I don't care who the promoter is, I'm paying this much and I'm getting these 5 guys. Like, I mean, the boxing world is it's an interesting place where I don't think anyone really knows what's going on.
Yeah, definitely not.
I'm not mad at it.
Yeah,
like
no, we're in a transition period, and it's a sport that needs some change, right? Like, it's been in not that great a place for the last couple of years, and I think switching it up, it's about time. Is kind of how I feel. Yeah,
kind of pushing those. I mean, we see, I guess he's back from Dubai, Floyd.
Oh yeah.
And to me, Floyd kind of represents that old way of thinking with his career and even the way he promotes fighters. But it's just it's so wild to me, right? Like when he was putting, I think this fight is canceled. Tank versus Frank Martin. And it's like, hold on, isn't that your fighter, right? And then Tank comes right. Yeah, and then Tank comes right behind him and says, "Man, this guy's such a hater." It's like
I am surprised sometimes that at the level of pettiness that Floyd acts for a 48-year-old man. It's pretty wild.
I'm not, man. Right. I mean, I guess so, but like,
I would have thought he would have evened out a little bit by now, and he hasn't.
I mean, no. I mean, I think Floyd's whole identity is boxing and being the best boxer, and that. And I think over the past, I don't know, 10 years or however long, whenever Canelo was
every
a
single
big Canelo weekend, Floyd would make an announcement, and now it kind of seems like Tank, I mean, not even surpassing him, like, Floyd, you're a legend already, bro. Like, enjoy your retirement. But just the attention that Tank gets, and it's like Floyd's got to make it about him, which is crazy because Tank's his fighter, right? Like, I think, as far as I know, Tank's still TNT.
It's held Tank back in his career, I think.
I know 100%. And now that Tank's kind of out on his own and talking, and we kind of see Tank has a personality, and I think this could make Tank bigger. But it's just so wild to me that, like, Floyd is kind of trying to shoot his own fighters down. Even with when Ryan Garcia was kind of hanging with Floyd kind of tried to intervene in that, and hey, don't do that. And really, man, that Floyd's an all-time great. Love Floyd as a fighter, but
all the more reason to fucking sit the fuck down and let the next generation do their thing,
And like,
right, but I don't think that's in his cards at all. And really, like, all this stuff happening, it's like, hey, Floyd, man, just get out of the sport, man. Like, you love what you did, won't take away anything that you did, but, like, as a promoter or, like, advisor, I don't think he's good for the sport, man.
There was also a brief period of time where he was doing the exhibitions and promoting, and I was like, all right, I get what he's doing. He's not just going to jump out of the sport, right? He's going to kind of ease his way out and do it on his own terms. Because, listen, if I could fight a schmuck for 10 minutes and make him $10 million, I would do it. But now it's gotten, like, just kind of weird and attention-seeking to a point where it's not even relevant to the boxing world anymore. And I just wonder if he's just completely lost touch of what is relevant in boxing, or if he really does believe he's still the center of attention.
It's, what's crazy too is that he not only has it lost touch with the boxing world, the casuals aren't even paying attention to it anymore either.
Right. We were talking about this the last one. Like, who is this for?
Right. The Dangerous Don fight, like, nobody's looking for that. Nobody's
like, who is this for? I don't know.
Right.
I mean, man, it's a young man's game, bro. It reminds me of, like, I enjoy rap and hip hop, but it's a young man's game. Like, once you get, so old, like, man, these people aren't checking for you. And is that right? Maybe not, because, you should respect what they did, but where Floyd kind of tries to interject into that, like, it just looks really bad. It's a nasty look, right? Like, when you're trying to, it looks like he doesn't want Gervonta to be bigger than him. And it's like, bro, like, that's your... Say that again? You cut out.
I said you might just call it sad.
Yeah.
He can't let it go, he's like a middle-aged man.
And, kind of going back of what somebody mentioned it a few minutes ago, when he was in Ryan's ear, just brought me back to, like, earlier in this conversation, we were talking about referees have changed the course of history. What if Ryan stuck with Floyd's initial, advice and fought Rolly? Isak Cruz wouldn't have beat Rolly. Would Ryan had? We would have this whole situation going on with Haney and Ryan right now. That one fight not happening is kind of already changed history. And,
I mean, to stay there, Felix, I think the whole reason why Floyd is kind of, like, against the Haneys is because the Haneys did train at the Mayweather gym. And I think I've heard Bill Haney speak on this, like, he didn't go with Floyd. Now, let's say Haney goes with Floyd. Haney doesn't fight Ryan Garcia, right? Like, Haney probably fights, I don't know, a non-threat. And it's like, what does that do for the sport? Like, yeah, maybe we build up this guy the same way Gervonta's been built up, but we still question, like, come on, man, we want to see him against these guys.
Right.
And, I think Floyd has it in his mind that, why take risks? His own career was kind of like that. Like, he took risks when he needed to, But it seems like as a businessman, which is probably a smart thing, why take risks when you don't need to? Cool, but that's not good for the fan.
Very true. And to the next point too. I mean, we're 2 days away. What do you guys think is going to come about this Ryan Garcia drug test situation? I mean, we're 2 days away from finding out, I guess, the truth or what's going to happen next.
I don't see any reason to speculate. Like, I just want to see the information that comes out, I think, at this point. And if Ryan Garcia is taking illegal substances, however the fuck they got there, I hope that he faces consequences and doesn't get to skate by because he generates a lot of money.
Yeah. And that's a very valid point. And that is something that needs to happen without a doubt. Whether he did it knowingly or unknowingly, you shouldn't be safe from the consequences.
Yeah, and I mean, I would still go back, and maybe it's came out, or I don't know, but like, does the New York State Athletic Commission not test?
Yeah, so the deal with drug testing is that it is a little bit of a free for all, and a lot of times it's promoters having to buy outside testing. Like
Right, but like, so like, if they don't hire VADA or USADA or whatever, they're not taking a post-fight drug test.
Some commissions require it, some don't. That's
yeah. And I mean that's crazy. I mean, there's a lot of things in boxing that need to be fixed, but just hearing that, like,
it's to start. You know, that seems like a good place to start.
Yeah, like I would think, hey, the commission needs a drug test. And this whole situation has gotten so muddied by everybody. You know, I think, you know, we've seen Shane Mosley say Victor Conti is why I tested positive.
Yep.
Like, Victor Conti made VADA. And then you start thinking like, well, yeah. And then Victor Conti sponsors Devin Haney, who just so happened his opponent tested positive. It's the waters are so muddy that I don't know what's going to happen in a couple days, but hopefully a commission can step in. And I would hope New York's like, you got to be, that's a big enough state commission. Hey, here's what happened, and you're suspended for 2-3 years. You know, like if you're purposely juicing up, I don't think 2 years is crazy.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I agree.
But like, Big Baby Miller tested positive. I think he was clearly doping.
Yeah,
and I mean, what really happened? I don't even know. Like, he was suspended, but
he just can't fight in the States, right? And that's what Ryan Garcia said too. He said he's just going to start his own league and fight there. And I mean, with the kind of money he has, who's going to stop him too? And it's going to sell.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him in Saudi.
Yeah.
Well, you're saying a commission's going to say he can't fight over there? Like, come on, man. Like, that's why there's got to be something. And I don't think that something, or, you know, whatever is regulating that, can be created by a guy that has interest in fighters. You know, that's just my thoughts. It makes it too easy to be like, well, yeah, I tested positive because I beat his guy.
Right.
So, and if he created, like, let's say Conti created these tests to catch people, so who's to say he didn't create drugs to pass these tests?
Yep.
Like, you know, I don't know. It's just so much, and the waters are so muddy that
hella muddy.
You know, hopefully cheaters don't just skate through. And if Ryan Garcia is a cheater, hopefully he doesn't just skate through because of all of this.
And by the way, I just want to add on to this, and I don't know everything about the situation, but I do know from decent sources that Victor was just an investor in VADA. He doesn't have any dealings with the actual goings on of VADA. So if anything, I think that there's absolutely conflicts of interest there, but I don't think he has the ability to go in and be like, hey, we gotta get a dirty test on this guy. Like I don't think it's that simple.
I'd hope
Okay,
not.
yeah, and I don't know. I always thought that Victor was like, okay, yeah, I got busted doing this. Let me help you create something.
Yeah, exactly. He put money up to make it.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just I don't know. Basically, what did I tell you, Felix? Like, yo, facts don't matter. When you were asking about someone, I was like, bro, facts don't matter. Just roll with it.
Yeah,
Bro, it's basically that way with it. Whatever you want to believe, that's what you're gonna believe. And there's gonna be half of the people are gonna believe the other side. So
and our sport, I mean, it's such a weird, unique sport with so many different outcomes with different things and opinions, and yeah, facts sadly don't matter sometimes. One thing I was gonna say, we've gone on almost. I mean, we've gone usually past our time, and we haven't even touched on the Taylor and Catterall rematch. I'll just say real quick, I'm rocking with Jack Catterall in the rematch.
Easy work. I think the Taylor's probably mostly shot.
Yeah,
We saw it against Tio. We really saw it in the first Catterall fight, and I think Catterall, if anything, has gotten a little better since the first fight. So I think anything other than a dominant win for Catterall would be like a letdown.
yeah, I agree. What do you got on that one, Ray?
man, I saw their face off today and it looked this stage this could be. Right. I think it was Catterall put his hand around the neck and like Taylor threw a left hook. Like,
and it split them apart immediately.
I don't know. It didn't look real to me. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they're fighting at 140 or 47.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, 40.
40? Yeah, I don't think either guy is a player, for me at least, like at the top of that division. So, I mean, I honestly don't really care, bro.
Another random one. I don't know if you guys caught the press conference with Boots, Ennis, and Cody Crowley. But did anybody feel just bad for Cody Crowley in that one? Like, I just felt like he was getting eaten up, and he was pulling the sympathy card a little bit, and the fans were booing him for.
Hey, you're not gonna get that in Philly. I mean, if he thought he was gonna get any sympathy or any whatever,
Yeah,
Philly, no, Cody, you wrong place, bro.
it was. I guess the Cody crybabies are in every sport at this point, but I felt bad for him, not because of his situation. Obviously, his situation is a sad story too, which I think anybody can feel for that. But I just felt bad that like he was getting shit on for just telling his story and just being there. Like no matter what he did that day on that stage, the fans in there were just gonna shit on him no matter what. And for that, I felt bad for him.
Not me, bro. I respect it, man. Philly rides with Philly.
Philly rides with Philly, but Cody Crowley is a worthy opponent, man. That's probably the best guy that Boots Ennis has been in with.
Yeah, and Cody's,
I'm not writing him off in that sense. I think when the fight happens, I think Cody can do some things for sure.
Yeah,
that Boots looked really good against Villa. Villa is one-dimensional, comes forward. Boots passed that test. Boots has not looked so great, his previous fight where a guy moving, showing him different things. So I think
Boots has fought about 8 rounds in the last 2 years or whatever. Like he just doesn't fight,
I think fight-wise, if Boots beats Cody Crowley, like I'm giving it up to Boots. Like, hey, good job. That's a good win. Because I think Cody Crowley is a good fighter. As for the crowd, though, and wanting me to feel sorry, nah, bro. Hey, get over that, man. You ain't going to get any sympathy in Philly. You're not going to get any sympathy from me. You're a fighter. Go in there and fight.
Yeah.
All this other stuff beforehand, sorry.
Yeah, and that's just the sad reality of it. But yeah, again, at the end of the day, Cody is going to show Boots some things that he's not really seen in there yet. And Cody is, I believe him when he says he's willing to die in that ring too, and he's gonna fight his heart out, because this is his last hurrah at a world title. Not saying that he won't ever climb back up there, but I think
no, but he's
Boots
an undefeated guy though, isn't
he? I believe so, isn't he?
Mhm.
Or yeah. So he doesn't even know how to lose. But my only thing
That's what I'm saying. Like I think it's one of those fights where Boots look really good against Villa, but like, come on, Villa and Crowley are two completely different fighters. And I do think he can, I think he'll make a good impression of himself. And I wouldn't pick him to beat Boots, but I think it's going to be a good fight. I don't think it's going to be a Virgil Ortiz Delorme fight. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And Bean pointed it out too, which I've also done research, and I have no idea. We'll ask him next week, Blair Cobbs, where we can watch the fight, because as of right now, I don't think we can unless we're there.
Sometimes it feels like Don King fights aren't real. Like they're like, maybe it'll happen. Like that's almost part of the marketing for them at this point, is like, are we doing a fight?
Yeah.
And like, how do you watch that? It kind of reminds me of when Roy Jones, this was recently, right? Roy Jones fought Anthony Pettis. And it was like, did that fight really happen? I mean, it happened, but like, who saw it? How did it? I don't even know how I saw it. I'm pretty sure I had to catch a stream or something, like, because where do you just, hey, I'm going to watch this fight? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. It's Don King promotion is definitely weird.
Even the Broner's last fight, when he fought that lawyer or whatever, it's like, did that fight really happen? Because who was that guy? Why do I remember watching this but don't remember how I watched it? It's one of those.
Hey, you know how it happens on boxing Saturday nights. Sometimes that's the story, no matter who's fighting.
For real.
But I think that's about it. Unless you guys have any other topics, we've kind of went over a few minutes. It's not too bad. But again, at the end of the day, Usyk is undisputed, historic first undisputed champion crowned in the 21st century in the heavyweight division. Hats off. I think
undisputed legend, and give him his flowers while he's here.
Yeah, without a doubt. I know you said earlier, Dakota, you'd put him on the Mount Rushmore of heavyweights. I don't know if I would do that just yet, but he's right there, without a doubt, and he's in conversation for top 10 of all time easily. Mount Rushmore, I don't know, but definitely top 10.
I feel like he's got a flatline Fury to be on that. And it's not fair. It's not called knockouts. I've always heard that.
I'll be honest. I feel like he gets held to a different standard because, not 6 months ago, everyone would have put Fury on the Mount Rushmore, but then Usyk beats him, and it's like, nah, I got to see him beat someone better. And it's like, who's better? He just beat the guy.
I don't think that you get better than Fury. I'm just saying, the way he's got there, right? Like decision against Joshua. I just feel like those heavyweights, those are killers.
I don't know. I think you're moving the goal.
And Usyk might literally be a killer, right? Like
I'm out. Sorry, guys.
Let's not forget, like Usyk literally might be a killer. He fought in war, but like close decision against Joshua, close decision against Fury. I'm not putting him on no Mount Rushmore. I'm not doing that.
I'll be honest. I need to see him beat Deontay Wilder. If he gets past,
I gotta see him win decisively.
Yeah, there's that too. We talked about that the other day. What fighters have no losses?
He could have lost against Joshua. He could have lost against Fury. Now to be able to do what he's done coming from cruiserweight, that's where I give props. But if we're talking best of all time, like, come on, bro. Like you get a Tyson Mike Tyson highlight reel. He's knocking people out. Lennox Lewis, he's knocking out Hasim Rahman. All these guys.
Yeah.
Tyson Fury is knocking out Deontay Wilder. What's a Alexander Usyk highlight reel gonna look like? Moving around? That's what we want to see? Like, you ain't going on the Mount Rushmore for that.
Yeah. And
for me,
that
my Mount Rushmore.
I'm with that. That's why I say he's top 10 for me. Because
we're gonna see who's on that Mount Rushmore. Muhammad Ali. We're gonna see him standing over Sonny Liston, right?
Yeah, George Foreman, Joe Frazier. Yeah.
We're gonna see these guys standing over people. We're gonna see Alexander Usyk. Come on, because his country's at war, he's getting extra rounds here and there. Like, nah.
Yeah, I mean, Mount Rushmore of heavyweights. I mean, you got Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, George Foreman. I mean, these
Deontay
Wilder
laying people out.
Yeah, shotgun of a right hand. Yeah, that's.
But you want to put Alexander Usyk on there because he could pivot off his left foot, pivot off his right foot? Nah.
Well, that's we'll have to rehash this conversation again soon.
Throw that last comment by being on there.
That's a valid point because that was controversial as hell. It looked like a body shot.
Yeah, bro. Now that we're 2 hours into this, Alexander Usyk, I just want to see you win decisively. You might be 0-3 your last 3 fights, and you want to go on the Mount Rushmore? What are we talking about?
That is true. I mean, and that's valid. I mean, what being said right there is not out the question. I mean, that was at that time a lot of people was like, "Yo, he just got a body shot," and he took.
I think a majority of people would say that was a body shot.
Yeah. Interesting topics. We're definitely gonna retouch this again next week. And like I said, stay tuned. We'll have our guest on next week with us. Actually, we're gonna have to talk about that. Next week's Memorial Day, so we'll see how that plays out. Might have jumped the gun on that one, but hey, either way, we'll be here and we'll be talking about this again. So appreciate you guys tuning in again tonight. And that's it. Unless you got any of the last comments, Ray.
Good.
All right, y'all. Peace.